Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. If this is your first time at the Bible study, then welcome. So, this is actually a part of a series and it is on the screen. But if God asked you to help the one who hurt you, would you do it? If he asked you to bless the one who betrayed you, would you listen to his command? And so, if this is your first Bible study here, then I'm glad to have you. If you're returning, I'm even more happy to be continuing on this journey with you. So, just as a quick recap, as I said, we've been talking about how to essentially move on from betrayal, how to um, regain your sense of self identity after these things happen, and kind of reframing and shifting your perspective on these types of trials and tribulations as they happen in your life, because we all know it can be very difficult sometimes when you feel like everything has been taken from you. You find yourself in a very vulnerable situation, and a lot of times the people that you've entrusted to protect you, sometimes they just don't come through. And so what we've been talking about a lot is the reality that in those situations, your lack of forgiveness, your quest for revenge, sometimes is causing you to delay your progress, delay your promise, and keep you from where God has already predetermined and destined for you to be. So today, as we wrap up this series, we are going to be focusing on the season of suddenly. And I am very, very excited for this conversation because one, it's deeply personal, but two, it also puts into perspective all the lessons that we have talked about. I will be referencing some of the different stories that we have discussed. And ultimately, it's going to be hopefully a really empowering conversation. And I'm very, very excited for this. So, if you're watching this video, make sure that you like it, make sure that you subscribe. If this resonates with you or you know someone that it might resonate with, make sure that you share this video with them and just let them know that you're thinking of them. Let them know that it's their season of suddenly. And let's get into it. Let's get into it. So, the season of suddenly. This is so exciting, guys. This is such a good conversation. So, I'm going to start with talking about me. We've talked about a lot of different characters over the past week. And today we're going to talk about me. So I want to start from my season that I just came out of. And this was definitely a waiting season. As you guys know, I talk a lot about how to behave, how to wait well, how to respond to your waiting season. And so I found myself in a waiting season just recently. In reality, I think all of us are in some sort of waiting room, but my waiting season was very specific and it felt like it lasted forever. Okay? So, first, I felt like I always knew or always felt deep down, like spiritually felt that I was called to something very big. I felt like I was called to perform. I felt that I was called to have a family. I believed I was called to be a wife. I believed I was called for all of these really great things. And I had this picture in my mind of what that should look like. I felt so deeply that I was called to those things that I began to unconsciously idolize those things in my life. And the Bible talks very specifically about not idolizing things and not putting things at such a high importance that they become equal or in competition with God. And so I feel like that is essentially what happened with me, where I wanted these things so badly that they became idols in my life. The problem with that, aside from what the Bible tells us, is that when you idolize something, you're more likely to bend your expectations, your boundaries, all of your things that you put in place to safeguard yourself in order to get those things because you want those things so badly. And I feel like that's what happened with me. Um, and when you do that, you in turn end up betraying yourself. So we've talked a lot this week about betrayal as it pertains to other people. And we don't talk about, and we haven't talked about what it looks like when you betray yourself and the journey back from that betrayal. So when you are ignoring your boundaries, ignoring red flags, ignoring the expectations that you have, letting people slide, letting people disrespect you, letting people put you on the back burner, those are all ways in which we betray ourselves. And that is essentially what happened with me. And I think the pivotal characteristic that defined that betrayal of myself was the relationship that I found myself in. And I was in a relationship where I wanted so badly to be chosen. And so I found myself waiting and waiting and waiting to be the choice. And I thought that I could wait into being the choice. That if I loved harder, if I forgave more, if I nurtured and protected, and if I was in the embodiment of all the things that God is for us and that Jesus is for us, that it would be seen, that it would be reciprocated, and that it would feed into the picture that I had created for myself. And so that's not quite what happened. But as we discussed with Job, sometimes the enemy doesn't get you in the places where you're weak. Sometimes he gets you in the places of the things that you want the most. We saw it with Job with his kids. He prayed over his kids. He covered his kids. They were one of his most valuable things in his life. And the enemy attacked it. He took them from him. And it didn't bring him all the way to his knees because he was still who he was, but it really deeply challenged him that on top of everything else that was happening in his life, he also was attacked in a place where it was the thing that he had held at the highest regard. And that is essentially what happened with me. I saw myself as this wife. I saw myself as a mom. I saw myself as all of these things. And not only did God know that, the enemy knew that too. And so he knew where to reach me. And then came what I would describe as my breaking season. I had a pregnancy, a proposal, postpartum, and then relationship shifting, all in the same season, all within like in the same period, in the same year. All of these things happened. So I got all of the things that I said that I wanted. I was proposed to, so I was about to be a wife. I was pregnant. I was about to be a mom. I was all the things that I had said that I had wanted and that I had desired for my life. But all things are not as they seem. So support that I thought that I was going to have, it wasn't there. The promises that I thought were agreed upon, they weren't kept. You know, people I thought would show up, they didn't. And then on top of that, there were lies, there were people trying to rewrite who I was, people um, trying to pass their expectations on me. And it put me in a space where I was very vulnerable, very I wasn't in a good place. And for any woman that's out there that's been pregnant before, that has kids, you know that pregnancy is like one of the most vulnerable times in your life. And mine was vulnerable and it was tumultuous. That was the best way to describe it. It was tumultuous. My season, it didn't look or feel holy. And it produced what I would call the unholy trinity of abandonment, heartbreak, and confusion. Those are all the things that I felt. And it put me into a Job season where I was asking why. Like, I felt like I had done all the right things. I felt like I was a good person. I felt like I was being the person that God would have me to be, being the woman that God had asked me to show up as. And still, it was not producing the results that I thought I should have. And then aside from like family, I felt like I was alone. There was, the relationships, even just female relationships that I had nurtured for years, were broken down. And, like I said, in a very vulnerable time in my life, people didn't quite show up in the way that I thought that they would, or that I hoped that they could. So, despite all of that, I think that I had to come to a point where I realized that, like we saw in Job's story, pain isn't punishment. Sometimes pain is a result of a need for repositioning. And we talked about it with Job because his friends were so adamant about the fact that, no, like, you did this, you had to have done something for you to be experiencing what you're experiencing. And they were rebuked in the end. God rebuked them and said, like, no, y'all are lying on me. I don't know where y'all got that from. I don't just put people in painful seasons just because they've done something bad. I also may put you in a painful season because I need you to change. I need you to develop. And so there are so many examples, and I just want to talk about some of those. There are so many examples that we've talked about this week where it shows that sometimes pain is to reposition you. So we started this week with Joseph. Joseph's experiences in prison, he was put in prison for something he didn't do, but his experiences in prison are what led him to learning how to interpret dreams, which led him to getting in the palace, which led him to where he ultimately ended up in having all this power. We look at David. David's experience as a shepherd prepared him to fight Goliath, which prepared him to be a general, which prepared him to be a king. We look at Jesus. Jesus's experience on earth through all the pain, the suffering, the betrayal, all the things, the misunderstanding, those things prepared him to be a savior. So you can't expect that in your life that the pain that you've experienced, the pain that has happened in your life that you have gone through that maybe you felt like was your breaking point, has not prepared you for your positioning. There is grand divine things happening that you will never understand, because in Job's story, that was the big thing there. There are things happening that you will never be able to fully understand, but understand this: all that is happening is not by accident. Our God is intentional. And if you believe that he's intentional, you can't just believe he's intentional when it came to putting the sun in the sky and the stars in space. He was also intentional when it came to designing your life. He was also intentional in deciding what you could bear and what you would not be able to withstand. He will not put more on you than what you can withstand. He will not put more on you than what you can overcome. There is divine restoration that is available to you no matter what you've gone through, because that is the way that he has designed it. So I'm telling you right now, and I had an epiphany the other night in having this whole series, that there are people that are attached to you that could not be reached by you, that would not be able to be attracted by you if not for what you had gone through. I am telling you that God has declared that this is the season of suddenly. The season of suddenly is a time where everything that you have manifested, everything that you have prayed for, everything that you have thought in the back of your head, it is coming to pass. This is the season where suddenly your finances will be transformed. This is the season where suddenly you will be restored with peace. This is the season where suddenly every doubt and insecurity and fear that has been placed in your head will be removed. This is the season where suddenly all of the things that you have been wanting in your life will start to come to pass. Your efforts will start to pay off. Your fears will start to diminish. The things that you've desired in your life are going to start to become clear. This is your season of suddenly. And so I want you to understand that the waiting was not wasted. Your tears watered the soil. Everything that has happened to you has been for a greater purpose than what you could even imagine. And so there is somebody listening to this that your spirit is stirring as you hear this message. There's someone who is listening right now and you feel it in your spirit that, good Lord, she's talking to me. This is the message that I've been waiting for. This is the sign that I've been asking God for. I asked him to show me how good it could get just yesterday. I asked him to bless my my heart just yesterday. I asked him to bless my finances just yesterday. There's somebody watching this who has been asking for signs and signals. There's someone that's been asking for God to show up in their lives. They felt like they've been stuck in the dark for so long. They've been praying for days and weeks and months and years, and it seems like the situation has not shifted, that nothing has happened. I want you to realize as you're listening to this that everything is happening in your favor. Everything is working in your favor. What God has done will be seen. The people that have doubted you will be seen. They will be exposed. The lies that have been told about you, they will be exposed. The things that you thought that people would overlook you for, it's not going to happen. Nobody can overlook what God has already ordained to be true. And so if you are feeling this, if this resonates with you, understand that you're not hearing it from me. This is confirmation of what you asked for. You're not late. You're in process. Your time is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I need you to believe that. And so as you are sitting in your waiting season, as you are sitting in the waiting room, I think and I believe and I hope that you understand that it's important that you continue to wait well. All of the patience that you've exercised, the obedience that you've exercised, it's now more important than ever that you remain obedient, that you stay on the path. God is planning some astronomical, divine things for your life, and it's important that you lock in. It's important that you get up, that you rise up, and you accept what he has already ordained for you. Now, I get it, because in my waiting season, I felt entirely alone. I felt abandoned. I felt in days that there were times when I wasn't going to be able to keep going. And I asked, like, when is enough enough? Now, if that's you, I'm letting you know you do not have to walk alone. And there may not be a single person in your phone book, a single person in your family, a single person at your school, a single person at your job that you would feel comfortable walking with. But I'm letting you know that I've created a space where you can feel held. I've created a space where you can feel like you don't have to wait well alone. I have created a space that is fit for you because God knew that you would listen to this message. He knew what I was going to go through, and he knew that what I went through was going to resonate with you because it's what you've already gone through, or it's what you're going through right now. So if that is you, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to invite you because I've created a space for you. If this is resonating with your spirit, if your spirit is stirring up right now as a result of hearing that this is your season of suddenly, then I invite you to join me in the collective. The address, the website is on the screen, thewaitingroomcollective.com. If you're watching this on TikTok or on Instagram or somewhere else, then the link is in my bio. I want y'all to join the sisterhood. Because there's no amount of willpower, there's no amount of determination and just like manifesting that's going to allow you to weather the storms that come in your waiting season. Determination is great. Willpower is great. It sounds great. Like, I can do this. But God did not put us on earth for us to do things alone. We serve an intentional God. The God that put the heavens together, that created the solar system, that created all of your body's systems, that knew what you were going to go through. He also created everything that you would need in order for you to weather the storms of what he knew that you were going to go through. I think a lot of times when we hear scriptures like, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, we think that in saying that God will supply all your needs and he will do all of these things, that it is enough to just exist Have we ever thought, though, that the reason why weapons won't be able to prosper against us is not because we inside internally, just individuals, have all the things that we need, but that in the times when we need more, that God will connect us with the more? Have you ever thought about that? That the reason why certain weapons didn't prosper against you is because God used people to come in and aid you? We talked about it this week. In the time when Joseph needed an ally, he sent a Reuben. In the time when David needed an ally, he sent a Jonathan. God designed a plan for their lives, and he also sent an aid for them. He didn't just throw them out there and say, like, well, you've got all the willpower that you need to withstand the storm. No, he covered them. He sent them what they needed in order for them to be able to get to where he intended for them to go. So you can wait in this waiting season, but you don't have to do it alone. It's okay that you feel frustrated. It's okay that you don't feel valued. It's okay that you feel like you've been overlooked and abused, that people don't see you, that people don't understand you, that people have betrayed you. That is okay. God did not ask you to be delusional about what's happening to you, but he did ask you to stay committed to the plan. And so I'm not going to be the one to come up here and tell you that now is the time to give up. I can't do that to you. That wouldn't be fair to you. But what I am offering you is I'm inviting you to let me walk with you. I want to walk with you. Y'all, I'm just going to leave it with one last thing, and I say this every time. You're not behind. You're being built. I pray that this message has resonated with you. I pray that it has lit up a fire in you. I pray that it has allowed you to see yourself clearer. I hope that this week has been transformational for you. And whether or not you follow me, you continue to watch anything that I post, I pray that God allows the words that I've spoken resonate with your spirit and take root in your soul. I pray that this week has brought you closer to God and maybe understanding or seeing him a little bit differently or a little more clearly. And again, I invite you to join me in the waiting room, thewaitingroomcollective.com. And from this point forward, the Bible studies will be once a week, unless you're in the collective, in which we'll have like regular activities and things scheduled. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another great deep dive into the word. And y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye.